Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Pretty and Pug Business Coaching Podcast. Today we've got Sean from Sean Hodge Wedding Films coming on to talk to you all about his business and experiences. Hello.
Hi Danny, yeah, you alright mate?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Like I said,
Good.
I'm baking in this office. There's somebody lawnmowing outside, so I've had to close the window. So I'm making a little sweaty.
Shall we start today with talking a bit about you, your background, how you got into videography and all that jazz?
Yeah, cool. So as you can probably see on the wall there, I was in the military for a fair few years, 9 years I think I served. And while I was in there, I mean, my background is in music technology. So that's because I was a bandsman in the Marines. So I was a drummer in the Marines. And when I was working in the Marines, we used to travel a lot around the world doing musical performances. And I was thinking, there's got to be a way to document these trips and these travels. And so I bought like a little GoPro kind of travel camera thing that I used to be able to keep in my drum bag. And so I just documented everything. And I just kind of these trips were so good. We went to like India, like Switzerland, loads of cool places. And I was like, there's got to be a way of me being able to document all of this. So yeah, and then I just kind of got into it that way. I really loved how you can look back on those memories. And then there was other colleagues that were asking for those films, and even in a promotional capacity for the Royal Marines. And so that kind of grew after a few years when I was in there doing that. And because I was into my music technology, the Royal Marines wanted a more of a visual kind of aspect to their shows and performances. And like in the military, if there's wind of something that you do, you are then the person that does it. So I didn't really know much about cameras. I did a bit of editing, obviously, with the camera I was using for my travels. And they were like, "Oh yeah, we need video for our performances. Like, you're into your tech, Sean. You know a bit about cameras. Like, you're going to be the video production manager." And so I was like, "Well, hang on, I don't know anything about anything." So it kind of forced upon me, really. Loved it. I got into it. I started doing the research. I was filming like a lot of parts of my previous job, filming like all the performances, doing all the visuals on screen. And so when my family got bigger, I've got 2 children now, but we had our daughter at the time. I was still in the military. I was like, military life's not quite for me with a family. It works for some people. So how do I monetize video? And then doing a bit of research, I kind of got into weddings, looking at how I can capture people's special days, really. And it's great because you go to a party effectively on a wedding day. I've got time I can spend at home editing and kind of be present with my family, which wouldn't have been the case if I was in the military still. There'd be moments I'd be going away quite a lot. So that's kind of how I got into it. It's kind of a weird one, almost forced into it, really.
Yeah. It's like, I think it's it is a unique way of getting into it. I don't think I've heard anyone else say that that's how they fell into their jobs in weddings. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
It's an unusual job anyway, like being a bandsman in the military.
Yeah.
People don't get it. They're like, "What? You play music in the Marines?" So yeah, it's always been an odd one, and I think they're just trying to progress with the times. The Royal Marines band, and that just included doing visuals. And like I said, I was the only one that had any interest in like cameras, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Do you think there's been any sort of skills from your time in the military that you can sort of not transfer, but like translate into your business now? Is there much that's kind of crossed over?
100%. I think, and I've always prided myself on my business in regards to this. Like, people get the product, of course, they get the films, but it's how I am on the day, which is like really important, and that gets me a lot of bookings. And I think being in my previous job where I would have to talk to colleagues that were of a lower rank than me, and that would be a very different conversation to somebody who was an officer in my branch again, it would be a different conversation to somebody who we were working for, maybe like a dignitary from another country. You just have to adapt your communication. And so I was really good at doing that. And I think that happens on a wedding day. You can be with like a real chilled out vibe bridal party, and you've got to be able to read the room. And you can't come in guns blazing and be all energetic if that's the vibe. Equally, if it is buzzing and it is energetic, you've got to match that energy, or else you become the loudest person in the room. Then if everyone's buzzing and you're quiet in the corner, you become obvious, and vice versa. If everyone's really chilled and you're buzzing, you're obviously going to be noticed. So I pride myself quite a lot on that with my business. And I think, there's a lot of comparables from my previous job to this. It's adapting. Yeah. It's just adapting communication between certain people. And equally, like, if father the bride's a bit of a geezer and he wants to buy me a drink, like, I can get on board with him. Equally, if it's someone that was a bit more professional and kind of a bit more formal with their conversation, I can match that, and I get the best from people then as well. They feel comfortable around me because I'm matching their energy.
I mean, like, communication is a huge thing, isn't it? Because that is, like you say, it can completely make or break situations, and you don't want to be doing that on a wedding day, do you? Where it's not about you, so you absolutely shouldn't be sticking out like a sore thumb, should you? So that's a great skill to transfer into it.
And it's not just weddings; it's all parts of business. I'd say it's just being a good businessman. I would say it's because people, isn't it? Business is people, and that's, if you can get on with people and then you can chat to people and communicate well, then that's half the job.
No, it is. That's brilliant. How have you found the wedding industry? Is it what you were expecting it to be? Is there anything that sort of surprised you from being in the industry?
Interesting. When I first left, I was very much in a job where it was, I had a lot of mates around me. I had a lot of colleagues that, we do a lot of, trips together and spend a lot of time around. And I thought to myself, the wedding industry could be quite lonely, because if it's just me going on a wedding day, of course you're around people, but you're the only one working there. I do work with a photographer, of course, but then you come home and you edit, and it's definitely a different vibe to how I've worked in the past in regards to having colleagues around me and having friends around me. So I did go out of my way to network when I first left.
Yeah.
And that was interesting because I didn't know how that would go. I didn't know if it would be, people wouldn't warm to that and they'd feel like I was a competitor moving into the space, or if they would be happy to do that and network and go for a coffee and chat about things. And I was very surprised at how welcoming everybody is in the wedding industry, and how people are. Everyone's just willing to help you out, and they're looking out for the best in you as well as their business. From my experience, anyway. I'm sure there's things that have happened where it's not been the case, like in every industry. But I've been very surprised at how welcoming everybody is, and how willing people are to share work and recommend and go for networking events and socials and etc. So I'd argue that some of my closest friends now are in the wedding industry, which is something I didn't expect from my previous job.
I mean, that's really nice though. I mean, in the past I was at a wedding fair and there were 2 photographers, and it could have been a male thing because it's the only time I'd ever experienced it, and like, I am generalising, that could be what it is. But I remember one of the photographers was like, no, I cannot speak to him because he's another photographer in my area. And then the other one was still on the other side of the room, because obviously I never put them near each other. And he was like, I don't know whether I should go and say hello, like, I'm sure it'll be fine. And I was like, I have no answer for either of you, because I know what he thinks. And I don't want to like send you into the lion's den. But I also think he's absolutely wrong. And I think it does need to be collaboration over competition and building your network. So I'm really glad to hear you haven't found that, because when I heard that the first time, I was like, is this really what it's like?
Yeah, that is odd, because I don't understand it, because you're doing the same job and there's only so many weddings you can do. So
at one time,
in that scenario, If they go over and say hello, you don't know what could happen. It could be. I mean, my intention's never been to get work. It's to get friends because I'm lonely. No, but that is a kind of byproduct of it, right? If you're going to go over to somebody and say like, "Oh, I love your work, like I love this," and "Oh, I'm Sean," da da da. You know, I've done that at wedding fairs where I don't know somebody, but I'll go over and speak to another videographer because I'm in their mind. Then, if they get any work come in and I'm available, they'll pass that on. They'll say, "Oh, no, I'm booked for a date," but I met a videographer the other day who's hopefully a nice lad. and is willing to is free, so you know it's a byproduct of just getting on, and so it is unusual that people are like that. And I feel, again, a generalization, but I feel those type of people won't progress very well or very fast in an industry like this because it is about networking and it is about communication.
Yeah, I hear so many stories of people saying that they feel lonely, and I found it myself. Like, as I was running the wedding fairs, I mean, obviously I speak to people often, but I am, you know, I'm in a room by myself, fighting against a wall so murderers can't get me.
You were
And
saying about this earlier.
yeah, like making sure I'm
Freak out
fully
if you've not got
protected
your
by a
back
brick
to
wall. Yeah. But, you know, I am by myself with the door closed, you know, and there's no one there to keep me company, for me to go, "Do you want a cup of tea? I'm going to go make a cup of tea." You know, like, you are right, you are fundamentally by yourself, but knowing you're still part of a community and a network and have that referral relationship. I mean, it's free advertising, and it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's your, oh, what did somebody call it the other day? Personal PR, invisible PR, I think I heard somebody call it. And it's so true, isn't it? Like,
And I
just
think,
be a nice person.
I think the key is not to go in expecting that. The key is not to
Yeah.
go in, like, expecting the referrals and expecting people to like help you out. If you're just
People will see that, won't they?
if you're just willing to kind of be, I don't know, just be a nice guy and be present with people and enjoy the kind of experience and make new connections and contacts, then those things do follow suit. But
Yeah.
I think if your intention is that can be sniffed out quite quickly. And because people just want to work with nice people, right? People that they get on with. And so it's the same with photographers, because, you know, generally photography is booked before videography. And so just making sure that I'm, you know, working well with photographers is like the biggest PR. It's like being on a wedding day with a new photographer and just getting on with them and having a laugh with them is way more beneficial to my business than spending hundreds of pounds on SEO, spending hundreds of pounds on marketing and social media, because they'll remember, "Oh, I had a good time with Sean, like I'll recommend him." You know, that's
because you want to enjoy your work day as well, isn't it? So getting those people that like you work well with and it's fun, like that's the nature and like an environment you want to encourage, really, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And if you're working well and they're working well, they're getting good results from the couple. The couple are invested in you guys because you guys are getting on, and it's not weird or awkward. You know, it's just it's all round good.
Yeah. Have you considered sort of pairing up and like offering videography packages alongside photographers packages, where you kind of offer a, because I've seen a few businesses who do that, who they are fully self-employed on their own, but then they'll say, if you book me with such and such a videographer, then we'll come along and we do a special package kind of thing.
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah, there's a few actually different photographers that I'll offer. Oh, if you book with me, you'll get free drone footage, or if you book with her or him as a package, you'll get your films upgraded to 4K or something. So but I always make sure that it's actually quite rare for it to come my way first as a videographer. It's usually the photographer recommended me, but when it has gone that way, there are a handful of people that I do love to work with and have, you know, great photos. And so I'll make sure that the couple match that photographer as well. So I'll okay, right, they would be more suited to this person. So yeah, I do offer that. But again, I always say the main thing is it's not about the free thing that you're getting as booking us as a package. I mean, I want them to book that photographer because I want to work with them.
Yeah.
But the key is like you'll get an amazing working relationship between your photographer and videographer. And so
Yeah. Because there's a trio that I've seen. I don't know if you've heard of them, but like you've got Lauren Dillon and then Chris from Maven Visuals and Ash.
And Ash, yeah.
I can't remember Ash's business. That's awful, isn't it?
Ash Piper, I think.
Yes, yeah. I spent a day with him actually at a wedding, and I feel awful now. But they do like a group package where it's the three of them. And I think they've known each other for a really, really long time, haven't they? So that like working relationship, like you say, it translates so well that people are like, yeah, we want the three of you because
people know that that's they're going to get people that like know each other well and know how they work and operate. But I would never discourage booking somebody that I've not worked with before as a package as well. You know, I get on with everybody, and it's easy for me to kind of adapt and mold in with whatever's going on. And equally, I'd like to think that they would be the same with me. But sometimes it is just a little easier, I guess, if they've known each other before.
Yeah, no, it is. I think that like working relationship, it's crucial, and that it's making them knowing they're going to gel with the couple too, isn't it? So it all kind of flows in together. What sort of specific networking did you do when you first started? Was it kind of like sliding into people's DMs sort of thing, or did you attend sort of Devon network business meetings? Sort of, how did you go about it?
Yeah, so I didn't know how to go about it. That was the thing. So I kind of just made it. But I basically looked at the awards, so the wedding industry awards, and I thought, right, who is winning this? Who's winning this for the Devon region as videography? And not that like the awards, like, you know, there's great people that are not winning awards, so it doesn't really matter. But from my point of view, it was kind of like, well, where do I start? So I kind of started there, and I messaged Matt from Yeti Films actually, who won it that year when I was leaving the job. And I just said to him, I said, "Oh, hey mate, I love your stuff, like, and his stuff is awesome." And I'm just leaving. Basically, what we explained previously. I'm leaving the military. I'm used to a lot of colleagues around me. Used to working in an environment where like there's a lot of banter and a lot of fun. And I'm moving into this industry now that's like potentially quite lonely. Do you fancy a coffee? Do you want to just meet up? And I just want to get involved in the community, really. And also when I did message him, you got to remember that people like that probably get messages like that all the time, where people are expecting value back. Yeah. And I went in and said, by the way, my background is in music technology, so if you do have any questions on audio regarding your films, perhaps I can help out there. So I was asking to meet, but I was also giving value as well. Yeah. And I think that's important, because I think it might turn, and I've had people now ask to get in touch with me and kind of go for a coffee and chat my business. But when they're expecting, when it's all take, it can be quite a turn off. So I think you need to give some value. You need to give something back as well, and make it a collaboration. So I just messaged him like that. Hey, I'm into music as well and audio. If you need any help with that, it'd be great to get into the community and just chat through a few things. And he was straight away. He was like, "Oh yeah, let's go for a coffee." So we met up and we got on really, really well. And actually, he's like one of my closest mates now. And we're going to a videography conference in October together. So we're heading up to Birmingham to do that. So excuse for us to get on the piss, basically.
And now, like, when you meet up, it won't be all work or kind of give and take either, is it? It'll just be like
when we first met up. When we first met, like, he's in a similar situation with like a family, and he's into the same things as I am. So we didn't really talk about business at all. And that,
like dating.
It was a lovely date I had with him. It was lovely. And then from there, basically, that one meet, he said, "Oh, I'm in this group that I've got a lot of photographers and videographers in it, like a Facebook group." I'll see if I can get you in. And so, yeah, I got into that. And because I had such availability, because I was starting out, people would be posting referrals on that page. Oh, is anyone free for this date? Is anyone free for this date? And I had such availability. I was like, yeah, I'm free. And I was picking up those. And I would say from that one coffee, I probably made up like 60% of my revenue probably for that first year, just from that group.
Yeah.
And effectively just from messaging that one guy, you know? So these things lead on. So I would always say that that's a huge thing for business. That's a huge thing for my business anyway, is just networking. Again, I get most of my work through recommendations from photographers, recommendations from videographers that are booked. That is up there. It's got to be at least like 75% of my bookings, I'd say.
Yeah. That's a really fortunate place to be as well, isn't it? Like knowing that you have connected with those people so well that they are happy to pass your details on at like the cost of their reputation. Do you know what I mean? Like, because they wouldn't recommend you if they didn't think they could trust you, because it reflects on them then.
Yeah, exactly. So it was quite nice that everyone was willing to do that. And obviously, once I got into this Facebook group, there were other people there that I connected with and gelled with, and same thing, you know. So my network's like pretty great now, actually, in Devon, and that's all stemmed from. It's all stemmed from never wanting those referrals, never wanting like a serious amount of, you know, bookings from people. It's really just to kind of just wanting to be in the community and just have a laugh.
Yeah, have friends. Wedding friends.
Yeah.
What is one part of your business that you can say like you're the most proud of? What, you know, because I'm sure there's a whole heap of things that you have achieved that you'll be really happy you've achieved. But what's like your ultimate proudest achievement?
I think winning the awards actually was a pretty big milestone. And in fact, when I left the military, and actually it was through, as we just mentioned, I contacted Matt because he had won the TWIA awards for the Devon, for the Southwest region. And I remember leaving, and that was like a huge milestone for me. I was like, I want to win that at some point. And not through any kind of, because I've won this award, I'm better than anybody else. It was just a personal milestone. It's like I was quite inspired by seeing these awards and seeing Matt win it, and that was like that would be a huge milestone for my business. And I pretty much did it in the first year, or like maybe the second year. So it was like 2022 that I won it. And obviously, when I left, it was COVID, and so we had a few years there where things were a bit ropey. But I didn't expect to win that till, you know, a good few years. We're like maybe roughly about now 5 years in, right? Four or 5 years in. But that happened pretty soon, and so that was a massive achievement for me, because I left thinking that's the milestone, that's what I'm working towards, and it happened very quickly. And so I guess then there's like making new milestones after that, right? But yeah, that was a pretty good moment, I'd say, personally, really. Not because I, you know, shout about these awards, because of course, like there's a lot of elements involved in that, and there's way better videographers than me out there not winning it. So it's not about that. It's a more of a personal recognition. That was a big milestone for me.
Yeah,
and also having the lifestyle that I've got as well. Because when I left the military, it was, I want this lifestyle where I can be at home a lot of the time and spend time with the family, and I've been able to do that, and that's a real massive thing. Like, to be able to do that in my business, you know, I kind of conjured up this business from the ground up, and it's working. All my plans that I've put in place are translating to what I wanted. And so that's massive for me. That's huge.
Yeah, and I'm sure with like a new little one coming along this year, or towards the end of last year, like that must have helped, you know, quite a lot as well.
Yeah, I've not missed any like key moments really. And I remember being in the military, and we went to Northern Ireland, and one of the lads was on the back of the bus, and he was looking really sad, and I was like, "Oh, what's up, mate?" And he said, "Oh, it's my son's birthday, his first birthday, and he's missing it for." And he got drafted on the job like real last minute. He had all his family. We were in Scotland at the time. He had all his family come up from Scotland, and like he's missing his son's first birthday party. And I remember thinking, like, that will not be me. I don't want to be that person.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's quite a strong mindset to have. And I know like the military can have that impact on families. I mean, I'm from a military family. I'm one of 5 kids. And like, I know my dad missed my first 2 sisters being born because he wasn't close enough to have gotten there. And I think he kind of got there within hours, but not quick enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I can just imagine, like, he's not a very chatty man, but he's not, like, that's going to be soul crushing, isn't it? And I mean, I could never imagine having given birth to my 2 kids without my husband there to give me Lucozade. Because that's all he could do, to be fair. He couldn't do anything else. But, you know, just to be there, you know, knowing he was there.
I mean, as if I'm moaning here about it, but like, yeah, he lost in that room, like, as the bloke, he kind of like, I don't know what to do, like.
Yeah, no, he knew what he had to do, and he had to stand here with a cup, and literally every now and again I go thirsty, and he would just give me Lucozade, and that was all he did. But then for the next 3 days, he complained that he'd barely had any sleep and was really tired, and I think he was a little bit tone deaf in those following few days.
Yeah.
He was like, because so basically, like, not to get waylaid, but like my labour story with my first is I was given too much like dopamine to start with, so I basically threw up and fell asleep. They were having to like wake me up for contractions because I was out of it. So as far as he was concerned, I had a good rest.
God, yeah.
Like, not physically, my body was still doing everything.
I think there's a picture of me in the like waiting bit before you go down to the labour ward, and like Kate, my wife, sitting in the chair, and I'm like asleep on the bed, having the snacks that were meant for her. So yeah, it's a bit cheeky.
I think dads in labour rooms are hilarious. I mean, he still tells the story, like he tells my kids about it, about how when his mum was in labour with him, his dad was next to him making cheese sandwiches.
It's funny.
Like, they were told to bring snacks, obviously, but he turned up with a loaf of bread, butter, and like things to make sandwiches while she was in labour. So yeah, you're right. I mean, they get lost in the room, but yeah, we've got distracted. But like, not missing those key childhood moments. They're pivotal. Like, even like working self-employed and knowing you're never going to miss a sports day or a Christmas nativity and have those time restrictions from someone else placed on you.
You're in control of your life a bit more, which is why I wanted to move into this business in comparison to what I was in before, which I just didn't have any control. In saying all this, though, mind, I am missing Livy's first day at school because I'm on a job, so doesn't quite always work out. But
No.
the basically the week, I'm looking at my calendar now, the week set up where I'm away, and then a few jobs came in that were really close to each other away, and I thought, well, I can, you know, make the most of that. It's kind of like, you know, they're only like a couple of hours apart. So I spoke to Kate about it, and I said, look, can we do this? There's like a decent amount of money coming in here that, you know, it's up to us. I can take on this job or not. Like, do I take it on and miss Livy's first day of school and make this amount of money that can help us like go on a holiday together? Like, maybe that's better to do than, you know, because realistically, as much as I want to be there and see it, it's going to be half an hour of seeing her go to school when really I could, you know, I could make the decision and make the choice to, okay, I can work here and I can use that.
Make more like longer lasting memories.
Yeah. I mean,
you know, and you're still going to be able to speak to her and say, how was your first day at school? You know, all those sorts of things. And she'll remember that you had the interest, won't she? Even if you weren't physically there for the picture drop off.
Yeah, exactly. I was just saying, like, but my wife Kate will hold it against me. She'll make sure that family holiday's booked. Like, you took this job on with knowing that was the agreement. So
yeah, and it's going to be 3 weeks in Mexico in a 5-star resort.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't charge that.
Sorry?
I don't charge that much for videography.
What, you mean you don't add extra zeros just because someone said the word wedding to you?
Yeah,
That's not a thing?
might put it in the invoice, like the wife wants extra, an all-inclusive in Mexico, so I'm adding a 0 to the invoice.
Yeah.
That'll work, right?
Yeah, I mean, no one will be surprised. That's what wedding suppliers do, obviously.
Yeah, clearly.
Oh, I could rant about people's opinions of wedding prices forever. What is one part of working in the wedding industry, aside from the, loneliness that you expected? Because obviously you've not really, you got your foundations in place quite quickly. What is one real struggle you've had while being in the industry? Is there something that fills you with dread when you think about it?
I mean, the obvious thing is COVID, like that. I mean, everybody had an issue with that, of course.
Yeah.
But more so in the sense of I left the military in January 2020 to have a year of, and it was going to be a humble year. When I left, I said to my wife, I said, I've not got a huge amount of weddings, and it's going to be a huge pay cut, but I can go full time into it, and then invest more time and more money into it, which will then correlate to more work, right?
Yeah.
So rather than getting we were in and whether I was going to get a second job and just do weddings on the side. So that came out. I had just enough weddings to be able to like go full time. So it was going to be a real humble year. And then obviously the world shut down, and I had brides calling me, postponing, cancelling. Livy was 6 months old at the time. We were in married quarters, so we had just moved to a place. And then all of my business shut down. It was like on paper, it was tough, but on paper, it just looks horrendous with having a 6-month-old as well. And, it was scary because, I was the breadwinner. But, so that's probably been the toughest. And I think I just kind of knuckled through it basically. There was no real plan as such. I just didn't give up. I think that's the key. I just made it work somehow. I got a second job in a call center for that first year, and just was like, right, everybody's in the same boat. So, if the world doesn't go back to normal, then we're all screwed. So I'm just going to keep going with it and just keep battling through. And it worked. And lo and behold, it worked. So yeah, that was probably the most difficult thing, because it's a start. Like every startup business goes through its struggles, but to start up in that year was crazy. And I've heard so many stories. Like I think because 2020 was such a nice rounded year, people were like, 2020 is going to be my year. I'm going to start the business. I'm going to, so many people had a similar experience. 2020 is going to be my year,
Yeah, we were quite similar because we'd only launched the October before that. And right. Because we were received so well when we first announced that, Pretty and Punk was a thing, that I gave my 3 months notice in at the end of November. So like for a birthday present to myself, at the end of February, I was going to leave work, and then we were going to have the next fair at the end of March. And then the week of our fair, I think it was like the Tuesday or the Wednesday, wasn't it? They said we were not down. We were like, we have an event on Sunday.
God, yeah.
So like, now what do we do? Because, no one was insured for a worldwide pandemic. That wasn't a thing. And I was like, I just left my secure job in finance.
Yeah.
So I probably had the same thinking feeling that you did, like, oh, fuck.
And there was no furlough for me or anything like that, or like there was like a thing where you could like ask your previous employer if you had just moved to.
Yeah, like my boss did do that for me. They did it for 3 months, and I was,
your previous employer, you had just left, and they
they hired me back, so that I could get furlough.
I was told, oh, there's nothing like that available. You're going to have to rejoin. I was like, nah, thanks. I'd rather live on the breadline.
Yeah, but that's a commitment though, isn't it? How long is a term of service that you're committed to when you start?
It varies, but you have to. So I did. So I put in my paperwork to leave in my 8th year, and then it takes a year. So you have a year of settlement, we call it. So I had a year. So you can't just leave your job in like 2 weeks there. It takes a year to leave. So it's actually a process, and it's quite a difficult process. And so the concept of like rejoining and then having to leave again, like I'd have to spend a year in and then put my paperwork in to leave again for the next year. It's like, I'm glad I didn't, because I did think about it, obviously, because of the fact, but I'm glad I didn't, because, I wouldn't be as far along in my business now if I had kind of started in 2022, for example, which probably would have happened if I rejoined.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of comes back to I just battled through it, like even not accepting that of like, I need to feed my family.
Yeah.
Say, no,
I think like you must have quite like a strong mindset though. The amount of people. I mean, COVID was really tough for the wedding industry, and I think we still have some roll-on effects of it now.
Yeah.
In terms of, couple responses to wedding suppliers, they still have a little bit like, oh, what if they're going to stitch me up? I think, there's that seed of doubt now kind of on the roll-on from COVID. But you must have quite a strong mindset to have got through it so positively, because I know a lot of people really struggled with their mindset.
I maybe not a strong mindset. Maybe I just was so done with that previous job. I think I just like the thought. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
not going back.
Yeah, I was just so done with it that I just had to make it work. There was no other option. That's what it was. I think I didn't give myself any backup plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think when you do that and you don't give yourself a backup, then it has to work. I have to provide, and that was it. So I made it work. I went out and got a job in a call center, which I loved, by the way. It was actually real good fun. And then and then as soon as weddings were back on, I was back in, ready to go.
Yeah, I think the first time I met you and worked with you would have been was it like 2021?
Was it the
little like
photo
shoot that we did?
Yeah.
With Laura. Yeah, because that was just coming out of COVID, and even then we were still kind of unsure what we were supposed to be and were allowed to do and things like that, weren't we?
We're in a field, like, do we wear a mask in this field?
Yeah, but like, and it was sweating hot as well. Like, I remember it was absolutely disgusting, but like, it was just so nice to be around people again. Like, even that unsureness of what we were allowed to do. I remember like going up to Lauren, I think it was the first time I'd seen her this side of COVID, and I was like, I want to give you a hug, but I don't know if am I allowed to give you a hug? Like, we'd all tested obviously before we went, but I was like, still don't know if it's okay.
We all give some hugs out, didn't we? With that,
yeah.
Even if we weren't.
It's that hesitant, though, isn't it? Like, first of all, like when you're around people again, you're like, am I allowed? Don't know. This doesn't feel normal anymore.
Because we had to have a couple that were actually a couple, if you remember.
A couple, yeah. I mean, they were amazing.
Yeah. They've actually got married themselves recently.
Yeah, we featured their wedding. They had a whole weekend, and it looked absolutely incredible.
That Cloudland Castle, wasn't it? One of my mates who I've trained up, actually, he was in the same job as me, is now a videographer, Rich. He did their wedding. He shot their wedding. I think they asked me, and I wasn't available. And so, like we've been saying, I passed that work on to Rich. Really lovely bloke. Like, I've trained him. There we go.
Because I think they'd spoken to Laura as well, for the photographer from that shoot. I think they had approached her as well. So that would have been like, almost like free publicity for us to get a day together in a field.
Yeah. No, it was that was a good shoot, that. But yeah, you're right. It was like, that was kind of that was like my first working environment, I guess, after COVID.
Was it?
I think so. Yeah. Well, in like a videography capacity, I think. Because it was before, because it was like July 21 that wedding started again, and I think we were like,
I think we were just the beginning of July.
I think so.
Yeah, it was definitely early July. I do remember that.
When dance floors were allowed to be, if they were around a table or something, that was like the first few weeks of July. People were setting up tables in the dance floor so people could like sit around, and you were allowed to like dance near you. It just sounds mental now, doesn't it? It just sounds mental.
Yeah. I mean, even the idea of like standing 2 meters away from somebody because somebody hours away from you told you that's what you had to do just seems absolutely bizarre now. Like the queues outside shops. simply because we were told. Like, I understand it was there because no one really knew what was safe and what wasn't, and we were all just trying our best kind of thing. But it seems like yesterday, but it feels like a lifetime ago as well.
It feels a long time ago, but like the emotion of it feels recent still. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. We were joking with our kids the other day that when their grandparents and stuff, they'll be there going, I remember days of 2020 when we had to have a mask and we couldn't hug our grandparents.
It'll be like that,
And they just looked at me like, "Hello."
It'll be we'll be the generation that would be like, oh, do you remember when we used to have to do dial-up for the internet, and then COVID? That'd be the two things.
It'll be the generational change between these phones and these phones.
Yeah, because people do, the kids do that.
Because young people don't do this.
Yeah.
To be fair, my kids do that. I don't know if it's because I do and they copy me, but they do this.
Oh, okay, good. Make me feel older.
Maybe they're not lost yet. So I've got one last question, which is something that I ask all the suppliers who come on to chat to me, but I never let them know I'm going to ask. So I'm just going to throw it on you. If you had one piece of advice to give any new wedding supplier who's starting in the industry today, what advice would you give them?
I think you're probably going to guess what I'm going to say. Networking.
Yeah.
I think that has been the biggest thing for me. It's just been massive.
Yeah.
I think. And yeah, I mean, we spoke about it lots already, but I guess it's getting amongst other people that are in a similar situation to you, that have similar values to you, and run a business similar to you, and offering value. Network like that. I think networking in that sense is just going to do you favors, huge favors, because people will want to be around you, they'll want to work with you, and it just doesn't feel bitter because you are giving value as well. And
yeah,
I would say that is the biggest thing for my business anyway. And it still is. It's not even just starting up. It still is the biggest thing. It's how I get most of my work. It's how I get most of my work. All the, and I'm delivering a product, that is a wedding film, and it has to be pretty and beautiful. And of course, people are booking on that. But I think most people find me through the networking. They'll go to another videographer, their books. They'll come to my Instagram and see my Instagram. Oh, we love his stuff. Like, get in touch with me. They'll get in touch with a photographer. Do you know any videographers? Yeah, speak to Sean. Then they come to my Instagram and my website, and yeah, we love the work, and we already know he's a good guy because we've been recommended. So
yeah,
it's still probably the biggest element of my business, like, and how I'm still able to generate an income.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there's going to be a new sort of outlook on networking, maybe in our industry, because I mean, maybe it's come from somebody who looks, I mean, I don't think I look alternative, but people tell me that I am in my ways, I suppose.
You dyed your hair blonde recently, so
I know, I've actually left it natural for once, like it's not bright pink. But so just even having the non-stuffy networking events, even if it is just going for coffee, it's still a networking event in a sense.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even obviously we're based in Devon, and I'd been told about places like your partnerships, Devon and Cornwall and stuff, which are very useful networking events to attend, but I'd never fit in there ever.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking to someone after I closed the fairs, and she was like, well, have you ever done any sort of networking? And I was like, no, I don't fit. She was like, make somewhere that you fit then. Why not? And that's how the fairs began in the first place, was making somewhere that we fit.
Yeah. Great advice, yeah. And I think go into just random networking where, like, we're both in Plymouth, right? And let's say it's like a Plymouth networking event where there's going to be an array of different people. They're great, and you can get in touch with different people through different things. I would never say not go to a networking event, because you will be able to get some value in there somehow. But I think finding like a network that you can offer value in is be more beneficial as well, because you'll be able to, not a subject matter expert, but you'll be able to just like, you'll feel more comfortable because you're part of it in some way, and you're able to give back a little bit.
Yeah.
And that'll just attract more people. So yeah, rather than just choosing random networking events, which are great, but if you're in the wedding industry and there is a wedding related networking event, then that's clearly a better one to go to than like a generalized city one where there's going to be like solicitors in there. There's going to be, there'll be some video guys and photo guys, of course, but there'll be like property guys and all sorts. So I feel that's probably better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
To the tails, to the highs and the lows, from bouquets to beds, we got your back, hang all the chaos with a full clock glove, from the arm to the desk, where we fit like a glove. Pretty and punk, yeah, pretty and punk, pretty and punk, funk. To the tails, to the highs and the lows, from bouquets to beds, we got your back, hang all the chaos with a punk rock love, from the arm to the desk floor, we fit like a glove. Pretty business coaching, catch your plans in motion, we're pretty and punk. Yeah, we're working it together, making wedding dreams forever. To the tails, to the highs and the lows, from bouquets to beds, we got your back, handle all the chaos with a punk rock love, from the arm to the desk where we fit like a glove. Pretty business coaching, get your plans in motion, we're pretty and punk. Yeah, we're working it together and making wedding dreams forever. Pretty and punk, yeah, pretty and punk. Pretty and punk.